Hi guys, welcome. Welcome back to my channel, Simply Michelle. And if you're here for the first time, I have been reading the story called The Promise, written by moi, of course. And the story have been going. So without itching, let's get right into it. Oh, by the way, check out the new glasses. The sun had dipped lower now, slipping lazily through the branches of the oak tree like liquid honey. Tessa turned another page of her book, but she wasn't reading anymore. Her eyes kept wandering, first to the shifting light, then to the sound of the breeze, and finally, inevitably, to the boy with the watering can. He reminded her of someone from a half-remembered dream, eager to a phrase, polite, bright-eyed, just a boy, 19, maybe soon to be 20. Home from university, of course, for the summer. His shirts never fit. His smile always a little crooked. She thought of him like one might think of a neighbor's kid, or a student in a class, or a friend of the brother she never had. Someone kind, earnest, and harmless. Though he worked quietly, humming under his breath again, always some old tune she couldn't place. It was sweet. That was the word for it, sweet. And yet, Tessa, she flinched. Ben was standing behind her, hands in his pockets, jaw tight, like he'd been grinding his teeth. "Are you okay?" she asked him. He looked out over the lawn to where Dave knelt near the platter, inspecting the soil, just watching. "Always just watching," said Ben, voice clipped. "You don't have to spy on the boy, Ben. He's just helping with the garden. Remember, he's sitting in for his dad." "I am not spying." She looked up at her husband, studying the hard lines in his face, the way his eyes didn't blink. "He's harmless," she added, gentler now. "I think he has a little crush. That's all, Ben." Ben turned to her then sharply. "You think?" he said. She sighed. "Ben?" "Tessa," he said, stepping closer, lowering his voice. "That note last evening. You glow different in the shadows. That's not a schoolboy's crush." She wanted to brush it off. She did, but something about the way Ben said it started in her spine like cold water. Still, she smiled faintly. "You're being paranoid, Ben." "I am being careful," he said, eyes narrowing. And then he walked away, back towards the edges, where Sam, Greg were waiting with their ill-fitting camouflage, oversized binoculars. Tessa exhaled and turned back toward Dave. He was looking at her again, just for a moment. Then he bent to his work. She had been kind to him, maybe too kind. Asked about his classes, even complimented the way he sang. He did have a beautiful voice. But now she was suddenly aware of every moment she stood too close, every time she smiled with thinking. She had never cheated, never even considered it. Ben was her husband, her partner, her home. But kindness, she realized, could be dangerous when left unguarded. It could be misread and misunderstood. It could be misread and mismonitored. Tessa glanced down at her hand and fingers, brushing far away from the brushing just the top of her cheek, as the quiet question arose in her. What if Ben was right? I've not seen it even soon enough. However, Ben had made her a promise that the stalker would never lay a finger on his beautiful wife. And when Ben made a promise, it wasn't a matter of a statement, it was a matter of certainty. He had built his life around protecting her, not just from the visible dangers, but from the insidious kind that crept in through silence, hesitation, or misplaced trust. Tessa's heart pounded as the sun dimmed behind the hills, casting long shadows across the garden. The 19-year-old tended every morning with innocent hands and wide, searching eyes. He didn't know, not yet, but she did now. And Ben was already there. There would be no second for a mistake. The garden was quiet now, bathed in the rose gold light of early evening. Tessa stood beneath the arch of climbing roses, her fingers tailoring absent-mindedly over the petals. They were soft, almost too soft, like the promises she once made to herself in a world that hadn't yet demanded sacrifice. Ben found her there, the way he always did, without a second, without fanfare, just presence. Tessa, he said gently, and the sound of his voice wrapped around her like a memory. She didn't turn right away. She could not yet. I thought I could keep the world out, she whispered, her voice nearly lost in the breeze. Keep this pure. But maybe that was foolish of me. He came to her, then slipping an arm around her waist, pressing a kiss to the corner of her cheek, and above her shoulders. "Not foolish," murmured Ben. "Against her skin, hopeful and brave, but never foolish, my love." She turned to face him, her eyes wide and searching. "But what if I saw it too late, Ben?" Ben reached up and brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch as reverent as a vow. "Then I'll face it for us. I'll protect what we have built, what we are," Ben reassured her. Tessa leaned into him and breathed as she pressed forehead to forehead, her breath catching. "Even if I've made a mess of it?" she asked. He smiled softly. "Especially then, my love," he said and chuckled. And as the luster of the sun dimmed behind the hills, they stood rocked in the quiet promise between themselves in absolute perfection, but of choosing each other again and again, even though through the shadows. 30 minutes later, inside the lodge, the fireplace cracked with a lazy rhythm, casting amber light across the lounge where their friends had gathered. The evening had softened. The evening had softened. Edges were glasses half full with apple ciders. Socks tucked on the throw blankets, laughter waving easily between the long pauses. "So who's going to say it?" "Who?" Michael smirked, leaning back in the leather armchair, twirling a bottle of Marat he found stocked away from Mr. Byron Jones' stock. He twirled the bottle by the neck. "We're all thinking it, you know," said Michael. "Thinking what?" asked Julie, already smiling as if she knew the answer. "The boy?" chimed in Sam from the couch. "The gardener, Dave, right? Isn't that his name?" he asked. "Yeah," said Ashley, with laughter in her voice as she cocked one brow. "He's something," exclaimed Ashley. "Too young," muttered Greg, but even he couldn't hide the amused curiosity behind his voice. "He's too quiet," Ashley added, "like he knows something we don't, and it annoys me," said Ashley out loud. "Or like he feels something," Julie said softly, glancing towards the dark window where the garden was, now swallowed in night. "Did you see the way he looks at her?" "At Tessa?" "Yes," said Julie. The room went stiff for a bit. Exhaled Greg slowly. "The kid's got a crush," he said. "Or worse," Michael muttered, sipping his drink. "He's got something to lose." Meanwhile, upstairs, steam curled up from the clawfoot tub in the master bath, enveloping Ben and Tessa in a cocoon of heat and lavender. She rested her back against his chest, eyes closed, the tension slowly draining from her bones. This feels like the first real moment we've had all week, she muttered. Ben ran his hand through the water, his fingertips brushing her stomach. It won't be the last, I promise, he said. She opened her eyes. You heard them downstairs, didn't you? I'm sure you must have heard them, said Tessa in a soft voice. He didn't need to answer. His jaw tightened stiffly, but his arms didn't loosen their hold on her. I am not afraid of the way he looks at me, she said, trying to sound assertive. But I am afraid of what it means, her voice softened. Ben was silent for a moment, then said, crushes don't worry me, stalkers do. She turned slightly to meet his eyes. You still think it's not an infatuation? She asked. Ben leaned in, kissed her temple gently. I think the boy's heart is too loud, and hearts that loud either bloom or break something, said Ben. They soak in silence after that, the water lapping gently at the side of the tub as if the air itself was waiting to see what they do next. Later that night, after the bath and the warmth and the soft words had faded into complete silence, Ben laid awoke beside Tessa. The incoming light flittered through the curtains, silver and gold, a stark of contrast to the flickering intimacy of their shared moment. Tessa was asleep now, her hand still resting slightly on his chest. Her breathing was slow, peaceful, but Ben's eyes remained open, fixed on the ceiling. Ben kept thinking about the garden. The old stones, the ones that used to make the old stones, the one that used to make and pack around the edges in the garden, just to make edges or for the fountain, the ones he no longer dismissed. Stalkers don't always wear teeth. Sometimes they wear longing, he thought. The next morning was unusually quiet. The mist outside the windows clung like breath and glass, and the lodge seemed suspended in time. Breakfast was half eaten, coffee and caramel tea growing cold. Ben stood by the window, watching the garden. Something about it felt altered, subtle, rearranged, like a painting someone had tried to copy but didn't quite get right. Tessa approached him from behind in a robe draped over her shoulders. He heard her hair still down. "It's too quiet," she said softly, echoing his thoughts. "Where's Dave?" Ben asked. She blinked. "He always starts early." He turned to face her, eyes sharp. "Has he ever missed a morning coming to tend to the garden?" asked Ben. "No, never. Not since he have started." As a strange silence settled between them, not fear, not yet, but an unspoken sense of shifting grow. And it grew and grew. He hadn't meant to stay this long. Just the summer. The first 2 weeks, he told himself, one summer, the first of the season, to see her again, even from afar. It doesn't matter the distance, just to see her, to see how time have changed her or not at all. But the moment he stepped onto the lodge grounds, and saw the way the oak still curved like a watchful spine over the field, the way her laughter curled through the trees, he knew there could be no easy way of leaving this time around. Now he stood in the studio, the sun blazing through the lacy curtains. His hands began to tremble. The locket lay open in his palm, delicate silver. It's familiar. Inside, a photograph framed at the edges. A girl about 15, freckles, wind in her hair. Ah, Tessa. Not the woman she was now. Not the wife. Not the guarded figure watching him from behind her husband's shoulder. But the Tessa he remembered. The Tessa who once danced barefoot at the edge of the lake. The Tessa who spoke to him once, only once, just once, before her friends pulled her away, laughing like he didn't matter, like he never could or even exist. "Dave? What the?" The voice came from the doorway, firm, flat, controlled. He didn't have to turn to know who it was. Ben. But he did. Ben stood there, jaw clenched, chest rising and falling with slow fury, and behind him stood Tessa. Her eyes weren't angry, just stunned, hurt. Dave felt his throat close as cold sweat began to dance down his face, even his body. I was going to leave it," he said softly, holding up the locket in the planter with the last note. Repeat, with the last note. Ben stepped forward, You have been lying to us all summer? He demanded with a growl. Dave's voice cracked. I never touched her, never hurt her. I just wanted to see. What? See what? See what? Ben snapped. What she became? Or what you missed out on? Echoed Ben in fury. Dave's fingers curled over the locket protectively, like a boy clutching a treasure he didn't earn. You don't understand, he murmured. She was light. Back then, she was like my light, when everything else was black and noisy. She smiled at me once. That's all it took. Tessa stepped forward, now by shaking. I don't even remember you, Dave. That hit harder than a slap to the face. He nodded slowly and eyes stinning. I know, he murmured. He whispered. That's why I had to come back, said Dave. Ben moved like lightning, fists in Dave's collar, grabbing him back against the shelf. Point jar cluttered to the floor. You were watching her sleep? Exclaimed Ben, furious. Tessa held on to Ben's shoulder, trying to calm him. No, Dave gasped. I wasn't. I never went inside. I walked past, that's all, just to make sure she was safe. You don't protect someone by haunting them, Ben growled. You erase yourself by letting them go, damn it, exclaimed Ben in anger. If you wasn't a boy, I'll lay you flat right here, right now, he shouted in fury. Dave didn't fight back. He couldn't. Because deep down, under all the poetry and pressed flowers, he knew Ben was right. He looked at Tessa, eyes pleading. I never meant for it to get so far. She looked back at him like she was seeing him truly, seeing him for the first time, and said, You were a child, she said softly, and you stayed a child. Then she turned and walked away. Ben followed, but not before spitting out one fine sentence like a blade. If I see you near her again, I won't ask questions. I will make you disappear for good, boy. I'm watching you, growled Ben. And just like that, Dave was alone, the locket still shut in the palm of his hand. Sunlight in all its glory, and for the first time in years, the gardens around them felt quiet, not like a secret kept, a secret finally broken wide open. The rest of the day went by so quickly. Sam had his fiancée along with Michael, Julie, Greg, decided to give Ben and Tessa the space to wrap their heads about all they have been through this past week. They were all happy to know the little punk was caught. Their main interest right now was for Tessa to feel comfortable once more in her own skin. Tessa could not sleep. Even after the police took Dave, not arresting him, but to question and warn him, also to offer counseling to ensure he got the right help. So something like this do not repeat itself ever again. His parents were so apologetic, it warms Tessa's heart. Truly beautiful, beautiful people. And Ben and Tessa have no ill heart towards them. In fact, they were still the main caretakers of the lodge. She lay in bed, staring at the dark ceiling, hands still cold. She hadn't known that was the past that clawed at her. She hadn't recognized the boy, not from school, not from any passing moment she could remember, and yet he had built an entire world around her inside his own mind. And she smiled at him, even asked questions. Her kindness had been the key that annoyed her. She turned over in the bed. Ben lay beside her, silent, not silent, but awake. She could feel it in the way his chest didn't rise with the weight of sleep, in the way his hands didn't reach for hers like it used to. "Do you blame me?" she asked into the dark, followed by silence. Then, "No," he answered, and there were more silence. "I want to," he added quietly. Tessa blinked, but I didn't. "I just," he exhaled. "I want to understand why I saw it before you did. Why I felt it." Tessa swallowed. "Because you were, I had to be." She turned to face him. Only the silver light from the wind tracing the edges of his face. "I wasn't looking," she said. And there was a long pause. I didn't think I had to. Not for danger, not for that kind of danger," she explained. Ben didn't speak, but he nodded. Then finally he reached for her hand, held it between both of his like something fragile. "I was scared," he whispered. "Not of him. Of losing you to something I couldn't fight. An idea, a memory, a look." Tessa pressed her forehead to his. "I never left, my love," she said. "I know," he answered. And for the first time in a week, the breath between them felt whole. The next morning, he went back to the garden. Ben went back to the garden. No police tape, No reporters, just the silence of June after something has cracked. The oak tree stood tall, ancient and unbothered. The girls weren't under it. He thought with a smile. No iPads around, no books, no stolen glances. Ben pulled the last of Dave's gardening tools from the shed, put them in a box. Every shovel and trowel felt like a leftover ghost. Ben thought of burning the box. Instead, he dug under the platter where Dave had left the cat with the note. Ben didn't know what he was looking for, but what he found was a single envelope with water stain and open. Inside, just one line reads, "Sometimes kindness is mistaken for love. But love could never. Sometimes kindness is mistaken for love, but love have known to leave." Sighed Ben. That punk. You get one smile and fall in love, you douchebag, whispered Ben. Ben folded the note and lit it on fire. He didn't need to show Tessa. She already had some ghosts weren't made of paper, they were made of silence. Misunderstandings, well-intended smiles, and now they were ready to let them go together. Another day flew by so quickly. The morning mist clung to the fields around the lodge, softened the view into something dreamlike. Tessa stood barefoot on the porch, cradling her cup of chamomile tea. Birds chirped from somewhere in the trees, and the air was thick with the scent of pine, wild flowers. Behind her, the lodge cracked quietly as the others began to stir. The place was peaceful and safe once again. In the countryside of the village, it's a sort of reset button for all of them. And after everything that had happened, it felt like exactly what they needed. Ben wrapped his arms around his wife's waist from behind, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. "Sleep okay?" he murmured. "Better than I have in weeks," she replied, and she meant it. Her muscles didn't carry the tension like before. Her dream no longer bears fear. There was room again for peace, for happiness, for her man, her love, her husband. Inside, Ashley was already cluttering around the kitchen, laughing with her sister Julie over something about burnt toast and the art of perfect scrambled eggs. Greg was setting up his camera near the back for a group photo. He insisted they take every Sunday until they were 90 years old, while Michael and Sam were hauling firewood and teasing each other about who had the better axe swinging. By midday, the lodge was buzzing with life. Ashley had organized a picnic by the river, that run lazily through the property, complete with a checked blanket, basket of snacks, and a humongous igloo of lemonade that tasted suspicious. Who compromised the drink? Greg asked, swishing the cup with a grin. Define compromise, Julie said, trying to sound like a man innocently, causing everyone to laugh. Just know, Ben will not be able to drink any of this, said Michael, remembering what had happened last time. Tessa sat between Ben and Ashley, with toes buried in the cool grass, watching Julie and Michael skip stones across the water. Sam strummed his guitar lazily under a tree, the melody drifting like a lullaby and the breeze, totally surprising all the ladies who didn't know he could play the guitar. So what's next for you two? Asked Ashley, nudging Tessa gently. Tessa looked at Ben, who was already watching her, that soft smile playing on his lips. We're starting over, or at least that's the approach we're taking, she said together, not running from the past, just living. Ben nodded in agreement. Also, we're considering to open up this place to others who need a break, a reset. Ashley blinked, surprised. Like a healing resort? She asked. Exactly, said Tessa. Nature, peace, no judgment, just room to breathe, explained Tessa. Julie beamed. That is beautiful. That's really awesome what you guys are doing. The rest of the day unfolded in a rhythm that felt timeless. Dips in the river, naps in the hammocks, homemade pizza cooked in the old stove oven by the lodge, by Ben of course. As the night falls, they gathered around the huge bonfire under the stars, wrapped in blankets and telling stories that faded into comfortable silence. Tessa watched the flames dance, her head resting on Ben's shoulder, with her fingers entwined with his. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a promise. Ashley curled up on a hammock with Sam and woven fabric cradling them like a cocoon. The engagement ring caught the last streak of sunset, sparkling like a quiet promise. Nothing over the top, just the way Ashley wanted it. Private, sacred, between friends and her sister. Not even her parents was yet informed. But here in the warm hush of the lodge, they were beginning to talk dates, guest list, even writing their own vows. You still want to do it barefoot by the lake? Sam asked. As long as you don't chicken out, answered Ashley smiling. Never, he said, and kissed her temple. Not far off, Julie and Michael walked the edge of the woods, their conversation low but steady. She liked the way he listened, really listened. like what she said mattered. Julie had always been the wild one, the younger sister who bounced from idea to idea, heart fist into everything. But Michael grounded her, and in turn, she made him feel lighter, less rigid. They weren't resting or wrestling as they usually do, or rushing anything. They didn't need to. You think Greg is actually going to get the TikTok post up tonight? Michael asked, smirking as they watched Greg fuss with the camera and tripped near the old barn. Julie laughed, oh, cracking up with stitches. He's been editing that same skit for 3 days. I think he's trying to make up for the one that tanked last week. Over by the barn, Greg began to scroll furiously on his phone, trying to sync the latest audio trend with his carefully choreographed skit involving an ox, a fake squirrel, a series of question, ably dance moves. He muttered to himself, waving one hand dramatically, as if he's negotiating with the universe. You got this, Greg, yelled Tessa as she called from the porch, laughing as he was startled. Don't mock the progress, yelled back Greg, replied grinning. With his reply, it hardly could make sense as he was ringing from ear to ear. Don't you know art takes time? I'll have you know. Besides, I am almost viral again, he continued to shout. The group have started joking that Greg Healing was tied directly to his TikTok analytics. Since the breakup with Patricia a few months ago, since then, he had thrown himself into the content creation with a vengeance, part distraction, part self-discovery. The lad have become both his stage and his sanctuary. Later that night, the crew gathered around the fire again. This time, it was Julie who brought out a game of Tell Me Without Telling Me, a favorite of theirs from high school, senior years. Laughter roar as Sam tried to explain his first kiss without using the word kiss, while Greg tried miming midlife crisis with a with a beach towel and a pair of sunglasses. Ashley leaned into Sam, watching Julie and Michael team up and whispering, trying not to burst out laughing before their turn. Something about seeing her sister so carefree and happy again made her heart swell. Greg, after particularly dramatic round and involved fake crying and a flaming marshmallow, finally slumped back in the grass, satisfied. You know, he said to no one in particular, I thought this is the happiest I've been in a long time, said Greg. There was a collective silence. Then, not heavy, just real. No one rushed to fill the silence. It was awkward. It was shared understanding. We all needed this, Tessa said softly. A summer that wasn't about running or hiding or fixing things. Yeah, agreed, nodded Ben. Just be, he said. firecraft on sending particles into the sky like tiny stars breaking. And we will stop here for today. So yes, let me know what is your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Yes, comment. Busy up the comment section, man. Come on, let me know how the story I go. Let me know if my endpoint are what I want. Alright, so we have come to the end of the video, and you have watched. Still not subscribers yet? Come on, man, what are you waiting on? Do the right thing. Yeah, subscribe, like and share with your friends. Yeah, and like I always say, Philippians 4 verse 13. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. So whatever you found to do today, do it to the best of your ability. Love you guys. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. Appreciate you all. Continue to watch, like and subscribe. And you who's undecided, come on over and be a part of the Simple Michelle family. Bye bye.